halfway.
We're on. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Lincolnville Town Budget Committee. For the viewers at home, we'll just go around the table and introduce all ourselves. I'll start off. My name is Gary Schwald, Budget Committee.
Trina Allen, Budget Committee.
Mike Johnson, LCS School Committee.
Paul Russo, Principal, Lincolnville Central School.
Diane Halpern, Superintendent.
Becky Stevens, Lincoln School Committee.
Briar Lyons, Lincolnville School Committee.
Kayla Lacombe, Finance Director.
Jason Trumbull, Budget Committee.
Ed O'Brien, Budget Committee. John Williams, Budget Committee.
Thank you all. Okay, the first real item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes from January 22nd, 2019 and March 26th, 2019. I believe Kayla passed out a copy to everybody, but I know Robin did email them to everyone in the prior. Are there any questions or comments? I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
Make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second? Any discussion? All in favor? Okay, motion passes. Thank you very much. Okay, now for the meat of the meeting, the Lincolnville Central School budget presentation. Becky or Paul, or I'm not, who's going to present it?
I'll pass these out. Some people have had an opportunity to hear where we're at. We've had some updates. If when you get that, you'll see on the top there's a white piece of paper, and that's kind of a running journal of changes that we have made and from meeting to meeting. So if you were at the last meeting, which was on the 19th of March, those were the changes up till then, and for tonight's meeting, you see on the back page some of the adjustments that have been made since then. So I'll just real quickly, before we go down through the budget, we were able to get a, there was a vote for support staff wages from the school committee, so that was adjusted. That was unknown at the time. We had been anticipating a 7% increase for health insurance. That's come in at 3%, so we adjusted that. We are still trying to work out final, what the estimate is for the west wall, and I will go over that with you in more detail tonight. I did meet with representatives from the from Whitecap and from a masonry company, just to review the presentation that I will show you. I did get estimates from 2 flooring companies for replacing the wall, the flooring, for repairing in Walsh Common and replacing the flooring in the kitchen. It had been estimated at $4,500, and the bids are significantly more than that. Special ed, I adjusted wages and benefits. Transportation, we were able to get a bid in from our bus company. That was a little dicey. We were wondering if we were going to be able to do that. We're looking to decrease our buses. We currently run 4 buses. We're looking to run 3 next year. That means the runs will be slightly longer, but currently we have buses coming in because of the soft opening that we do, and a lot of parents dropping off early because we're available for the kids as early as, some kids are coming in 7:30, and we have staff there for that. We have buses coming in with 10 or 12 kids on them now, so it just makes sense to reduce to 3. We're not taking, because our food service is making a profit significantly more than we have in the past. We pulled the health insurance because we can pay that out of food service. It doesn't need to be subsidized at this point, and it doesn't look like it will in the future. So I reduced that, but I did move the money that we saved. It was a little over $9,000, $9,400. I did move that over to operations and maintenance to help beef up that line there, especially around the issues with the wall. And there's just the outstanding action item is just that they need an approval to move carryover that was identified through the audit into the facilities reserve fund. So, having said that, on the gold page, the only things that have changed since the last meeting, and I realize this is a first look for some of you folks, the only thing that's really changed would be the additional local has moved around slightly, and you know, the overall amount that we're looking to raise, it's in the same ballpark. I think it may be a little less than it was last time. But essentially, our essential programs and services EPS number is up from last year, $38,000, as you can see in the top right. State contribution is projected to be significantly higher, which means that one part of the local contribution is down. That's the amount we're required to raise in order to get this state number. That is down.
And the reason it's down, that's where the mistake was. Just so you understand, valuation, it looks like it went down in Lincolnville and it didn't. So that's why what they're asking you to pay is down.
But it's really good news for this year, that's for sure.
I know.
So the additional local is up some, and essentially you'll see most of that is in the operations and maintenance line, and most of those items that we're addressing are things that need to be addressed and then should go, many of them should go away. There's one big ticket item that will be required to pay the third installment of a 3-year. This budget will have the second. So
Paul, just, I know it's about $600 more, but is that percentage still 17.1% difference, or is it changed? I don't know if 600 really would impact the 164.
about $600 more. The number is,
I don't have a calculator
Right.
with me.
and yeah, and the 17% is that. Yeah, that.
I don't know if that changes that 1.1% to maybe. I don't have a calculator. I was just curious if you changed it.
Yeah, that's just, it might be the number to the right of that one that might have changed
Okay.
in that case, but I just show it out to one place.
Okay.
And
Thank
again, that's all calculated by the spreadsheet. So, to get a good glance, if you turn that page over for the cost centers.
Paul, before you go on, so the overall use, I see a 5.73% increase for this
Right.
year. And looking at the numbers on this sheet, it's about the same last year as well. That was about the same step. Yes?
What do you mean?
Okay.
I'm not clear what you're asking.
Okay, what I'm gonna get at is, what, do you know the average percent increase in the school budget?
This is
Like-
higher, I don't,
Yeah,
yeah, this is high, for a
okay.
percentage higher than we normally are.
What would it normally be? And I'm not for criticism, I have another purpose in mind.
Yeah,
but
under
for the
three,
solar.
under 3% typically, or right around
Okay.
3 or under, yeah.
Okay, That's good.
So, on the other side with your cost centers, you can see just going down through regular instruction, which includes the regular instruction line and the gifted and talented instruction line. That is up slightly now. We just they settled on a 3-year contract, so we'll be in year 1 of a 3-year contract. We do have some staffing yet to be determined. So this, but I'm pretty confident that this number will be fine.
Can I interrupt and just a second and go back to what you were asking as far as the increased budget to budget at the 5.73?
yeah,
You have to remember that we're increasing by the facility money that we're spending that's an in and out. So it looks like it's more because our increase is the one time more too.
mhm.
So you have to almost take 200,000 off of that because that was that one-time facility spending, okay?
Yeah.
But you
I
gained
think that's
about,
why it looks inflated more than it would
but
be.
you gain more money from the state,
Right,
so
but
it's
just when
gonna
you look
balance
budget to
out.
budget, it looks high, but you have to realize we're getting the revenue for that to pay for that one
But
time. I'm sorry.
if I was hearing your question correctly, you were asking, what's the percentage between 17, 18, and 18, 19? Is that what you were
Yeah.
asking? It was 4.72 if my calculator is correct.
Okay.
Alright.
So we've gone up another percent basically for this year, but it's a scenario where there's funds available that were not intended to reduce local taxes. That was sort of the directive handed down, hey, we give you money, so that's not what it's for. And we do definitely have some facilities needs.
Okay.
So this gives a much, certainly a bigger picture glance at the changes than does the front page, which is really just the total changes. So as you go down through there, you can see what's increased and what is decreased. Most of them are somewhat minor. And I can go down through with the white sheets afterwards. The biggest increases right now, operations and maintenance at $171,000. Debt service is down 13, food service is down $9,500. So I'm thinking, and typically at this point, we sort of glance at this page and then all the questions, the why, so why is this up or down, are better answered if you go to page 3. So for regular instruction, if you go down through that, it'll show you, for instance, teacher salaries. There's a $13,000 increase with that, and again, we just the new contract has been settled. That takes that into account. There are 2 people yet to be hired, so we have money in there for them. We're anticipating a certain number, and then there's some benefits that are included in there that may or may not be necessary. The health insurance, that's just based on what teachers need, and actually you can draw across that 7. That's one of the places I missed the 7%. That is no longer budgeted at 7%. So that includes what people are
3%. Well,
right. It's 3. What people are currently taking plus the 3%. So that's the actual number. The other changes in there we did, if you look under communications, and those are a lot of our online subscriptions for textbooks and some programs. We moved one fairly big, a $3,200 item out of student assessment into this line, so that's driving the lion's share of that increase. That's why it's up almost $5,000. That's the biggest part of it. All in all, that is a 1.6% increase for regular instruction. So it's
course reimbursement, that's professional development for the staff.
right. That's contractually driven.
Okay.
So teachers who are in a degree program or are for professional development, right, looking to take courses. We had an opening. Our GT teacher took another position mid-year, and we have since hired. So we've settled on the salary for that. So that's basically what's going on with that particular number. And actually, I'm going to double check that health insurance. I'm pretty sure that's high. I hadn't noticed that, but as I look at that, that's at least $10,000 or $12,000 higher than it should be. So I'll fix that, and I apologize. I didn't catch that. But it's good news. At least it doesn't go the other way, right? So that would be that cost center, and totally it's up 1.4, and I'm gonna suggest it's gonna be up closer to 0.6. When that's said and done.
Well, the health insurance, do you negotiate that, or is that a statewide negotiation in blocks of?
I'll let Diane speak to that.
The MEA negotiates for the plan that
Okay.
they get for the teachers.
So they should be able to have some clout too, right?
They
with
do.
their rates.
They do. And in fact, a lot of times new board members come on and that's kind of the first place where they wanna look is surely we can find some cheaper insurance, and
Mhm.
they can't.
And we've done that over the years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You can't, you
I know.
cannot, for, how many employees, 50-ish?
Yeah,
You can't find a better deal than,
And the MEA trust actually puts money to help keep the cost for the insurance
Yeah,
low
so.
too.
Thank you.
So on the next page, page 4, with our special education, that line is, the total for that line is $464,000, a little more than that, and it's up 5%, and as you can see, there's some slight changes for wages. Health insurance has changed, and again, that number is 3%.
Mhm.
And then we had an increase, our tuition, and I think I spoke to this last time, tuition has increased, and one of the things that we hadn't anticipated in the last budget was that if you have a student who's tuitioned out and they get main care, then the receiving school receives main care checks from main care, but then retroactively they take it out of our our EPS. So our state funding gets reduced by that amount, and this year it was reduced by about $11,000. So I put $12,000 back in, just anticipating that.
We liken it to the copay that you have to pay in order to get the money back from the state.
It was a little bit of a surprise for me.
Yeah.
Speech is up a little bit, well, it's more than a little bit, but that's just a rate increase. And at first when I saw that, I was quite concerned, but in looking around, it's actually, it's the going rate. So, and we talked to some people in other districts, and many people can't get them, and we happen to have someone who's very good, so that's where we're at with that. Special ed office, Diane, do you wanna, 'cause I wasn't there for that meeting. That's,
It's up, is that what you're saying?
yeah.
Yeah, the reason it's up, we tried to split, we now have one secretary for the superintendent and special ed director. So because our office personnel is split half, we just split all the costs half. So some got moved from superintendent to special ed, and it's kind of good because you get more reimbursement from the special ed side of things. So it's just split down the middle, that's all. So you'll see a decrease in superintendent's office and for staffing, and then an increase in the special ed.
And did our costs go up based on enrollment?
yes.
I believe so, yeah, I have the cost share.
So that's also, and that's a three-way
That's true.
split.
Yep.
Going down through other instruction, co-curricular activities, basically looking at last year and then looking at schedules and so forth. And also in that would be the number of kids that are participating in certain programs like Kiev. So that drives a slight increase there. And then we had to make a significant adjustment to our transportation for athletics. Part of that is that in the new bus bid, the cost went up for transportation, and also just looking at some of the things we're currently we're providing transportation one way for track in the spring, and which we actually started last year, and then looking at the cost for that, that's grown, and then looking at our schedules and the travel that we've been doing, and we cut it really close this year, so we adjust that accordingly. So that's the biggest bump there. So that line is up a total of about $3,000. So the total line is $22,000, as you can see. Guidance, that's just a negotiated increase essentially in the costs that go along with that. And the library, that's similar. And there's a change in the health insurance benefit apparently, because this is the cost for the program that person is taking. So the library in itself is only up by $300. Instructional technology. These are just, it's very similar. It's down a little bit by about $1,500. There's an increase with paying benefits, as you can see, and then some of our hardware and supplies we've dropped. So, I mean, it's very similar to what it's been in the past. We do share the cost of a coordinator, a substitute coordinator, just one person who calls substitutes for all 3 schools. So that's what that is, and there's no change there. Instructional staff training is up slightly, by about $1,000. The total there is $16,800. We have a projected increase for the nurse in terms of salary, but some other costs have gone down, so that's up slightly, $443. And then student assessment, as I mentioned earlier, we had moved that one program out and into the regular instruction under communications, so that's the lion's share of that, again, $3,200. So that total cost center for support services is up 0.6%. You can see the school committee, the largest increase for the school committee, the auditor wants another $500, and the school committee insurance has gone up by $1,300. Fees have gone up by $38, so there's an $1,800 increase in that line. Superintendent's office is down slightly, and
I'm sorry, what did you say, Paul?
superintendent's office is down. I was hoping you knew that. Office of the principal, the increases there are driven primarily by pay and benefits. That line is up 2.6%, which is essentially what that change was. And I'm gonna double check. I'm gonna double check the wages, because that should be a 3%. So if I missed that, I apologize. That increase was 3%, so there might be a slight difference there. There's a change in transportation that we had mentioned, and we earlier that had dropped slightly. We budgeted fuel to be up just a little bit, and the overall transportation, the contracts, even though we're dropping to 3 buses, it's the savings is really only $3,000.
Well, now you're only paying for fuel for 3 buses and not 4. Why is your fuel going up 20%?
Yeah, that's a good question, and I will double check.
Because it doesn't.
Yeah, I'll double check that
And
number.
20%, I don't think fuel's gonna.
They're
go
going to be
20%.
driving more.
They're gonna cover the same number of miles. They're just gonna cover it with 3 buses instead of 4 buses.
Right. So last year you budgeted $10,000 for fuel. Do you know if you spent all that or went above that, or?
Yeah.
Yeah, I brought all those too, by the way, are up to date.
increasing, but 20% seems good.
We had asked for the actual last three, but I don't really believe it's what you actually That's 17.
As of March
I
19th, they
don't
only had
have
2,000 left of the 10.
I don't have the March one. I thought I had them. I don't.
Okay, Ms. Jones.
Yeah.
So roughly per month, that's 10.
We'll spend all of that.
Yeah.
But I do think it's worth double checking on that, that, you know, there may be an opportunity.
Right, thank you.
Now the big one. Operations and maintenance, custodial wages, that actually, I'm not sure what that will be. We currently, our custodian Brenda Dodge, who's been outstanding, is gonna retire in July, so we currently have an opening that we're advertising for in there, so I don't know exactly where that will fall. And then, you know, the repairs and maintenance services, and that is up significantly. And I'm gonna just open mine. Actually, I can give you a better breakdown.
Curious, the custodial makes almost 3 times more than a nurse makes.
There's 2.
There's two.
Oh, there's 2.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah.
All right.
Now, so, what I'll do is I'll go over in more detail that particular line, so we know what the changes are. I don't think I need to go into
Still being relatively new to the whole school budget system, when someone retires, is there any liability from our budget perspective, or is that the
Yes.
state takes care of? Is there anything we need to contribute during?
Contractually, if they have over 10 years of continuous service, they can get reimbursed at per diem for up to 30 sick days. And that would come out of the, even though we had tried to budget ahead for that, has to come out of the current budget, so that's, you know, that's one thing. The other thing is, which we realized and were able to adjust to, is that when they figure your rate for health insurance, some people come in at a lesser rate than others, like we came in at 3, but a few years ago, we were told that it was gonna be somewhere in the area, they started around 13%, because your retirees count towards your number of employees, and we were up over 50. So what happened though was, because I'd asked for a list of all of the people, there were 5 or 6 people on the list that nobody had ever heard of. And so when we went back to them and contested that, it actually, they were retirees from Lincoln, Maine, and not Lincolnville, and it just put us over. So one of the things we've tried to do is make sure, for instance, people in the superintendent's office get carried on at one of the other schools, because if we carry everybody, and we're pretty close to the 50 now, once we go over that, then, I mean, if they really are people listed and they're working there, we're gonna get the higher rate. And so those are just things that,
Are you asking though, do we have to pay anything toward people?
Well, that was part of the question, but Paul, also, the other liabilities, like a payout per diem and that sort of stuff too. So even though they're salaried, there still might be some additional costs when they retire, which it sounds
those would
like
be the only things.
Yeah, but it doesn't,
At
they
an,
don't
at an
pay.
actual retirement, so not a resigned position where
Right.
they moved on
Mhm.
to some other school or some other
Right.
life pursuit.
Right.
So only a teacher who has met retirement age and who has worked continuously for 10 years at LCS.
Thank
And
you.
Brenda doesn't pay into Maine State Retirement as a custodian, so that wouldn't count either.
Okay, great.
So we have, I'm looking at operations and maintenance. The line that's repairs and maintenance services, which is up
7%, almost 8%.
$120,000, or 108%.
Mhm.
Some of the items, at this point, there are a lot of things that normally would be in there: fire maintenance, elevator inspections, those sort of things, other services outside of the contract. But, so a lot of them there are a lot of items that normally would be in here. We did, and we brought a copy of it, we had a property condition assessment done, and they put together a 10-year plan for us, and many of the items were things that needed to be taken care of early and up front, so many of those items are on here. The big ticket items, one of them I've mentioned already, there's $15,000 in here for replacing the kitchen flooring, and we've been warned